Welcome to Bike Week Radio Show.
Powered by Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance.
Bike Week Radio Show with Bobby Wooldridge, Broc Glover, and Paul Carruthers on San Diego's sports leader, the mighty 1090.
Good morning and welcome into Bike Week Radio Show on San Diego sports leader, the mighty 1090. And thank you again for making us a part of your Sunday morning routine. And happy Easter to all you out there celebrating and on the road today. And special shout out to those tuning in with the brand new handy dandy Bike Week Radio Show smartphone app. And since today is Easter Sunday, we're going with a best of show with some highlights from some of our favorite guests we've had on in the past few months here on Bike Week Radio Show. And also, even a few guests that we didn't have a chance to play their interview, even though they were such great interviews. We only get 1 hour. Sometimes it's just not enough time. But it's been a busy start of the year so far. We're out at the first Supercross of the year in Anaheim at the beginning of the year. And then we were in downtown San Diego as Supercross came to Petco Park for the very first time. Then we were also hanging out with one of our favorite sponsors, Toyota Carlsbad, and snagging some interviews there, hanging out with the Legends and Heroes Tour. So it's been a busy first quarter of the year for us, and so it's a nice time to stop, reflect, and present to you guys once again some of our favorite interviews so far this year. And on the schedule today, we got Dakar badass rider Ned Sueese, who we talked to at Toyota Carlsbad. We'll also play an interview with one of our good buddies, San Diego native and San Diego's own Scott Burnworth. And we'll play some of the interview we had with Danny Laporte. The entire thing was about 25 minutes of just incredible content and laughter. We won't have enough time to play all of Danny's interview, but we'll bring you some of the highlights from Danny's interview. But let's get things started right now as we talk to Flat Track Grand National Champion Jared Mees. Well, let's head out to the hotline. We're joined by Jared Mees, three-time AMA Grand National Champion. You can check out the website at jaredmees.com, MEES.com, or on Twitter at jmees1. Jared, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
You're not on Adderall this morning, are you?
No, just during the season.
Smart. You're smart. They don't test dirt trackers, do they?
You know, every once in a while they have a random test, but you never know when it's coming. It was a couple years ago that the last one they did, so who knows what us flat trackers are all on.
When they show up with the shoe on the right foot, they kind of go, hey, we'll pull this guy aside.
Well, they look at these guys walking through the pits, they're like, God, that guy looks like he's drunk. But, you know, it's only because of the steel shoe.
That's just physiology.
Anyways,
Exactly.
it's funny because I contacted Jared this week, and I'm like, I know you're probably tired of talking about racing Marc Marquez and the Super Prestigio. And Jared Mees, who's always the bomb, he's always willing to call in, says, oh, no, I loved it. It was great. I'll talk about it all you want. So we're going to start out by talking about the Super Prestigio. I think I read somewhere it was your first time even going to Europe. Am I right?
Yeah, it was. Yes, indeed, it was.
And there you are. You're in this little Spanish arena. Well, it's not that little, but you're in this Spanish arena. You've got Marc Marquez there. He's the world champion, MotoGP world champion. He's at home.
He's all cocky.
Everybody wants him to win. Things are going great. You're doing your practice. Brad Baker's nice and fast. He's kind of carrying the load of flying the flag for the U.S., flying the flag for dirt track, and then Brad gets hurt, and then suddenly you got a little more pressure on you. Am I right there, too?
No, not really. You know, it was a big bummer to see Brad get hurt because I was going to enjoy racing with him for sure. I mean, the speed that he has, and, of course, he's a dirt tracker. I knew that he was going to be one of the guys to beat, you know, come to the finals and whatnot. And we would have raced each other quite a bit because we were both in the open class. So I look forward to racing against Brad. He brings his A game every time he hits the starting line, and so do I. So, you know, when one of us beats each other, you know that we each brought our A game and we won it fair and square, you know.
And then you get off in the main event. They pit the dirt trackers against. I mean, that's your first shot at Marc Marquez, and there was like a little more than a little, but there was some contact in the first corner, and it's like when you look at your video, it's like amazing anybody made it through there, but you do. And then it comes down to finally after you work your way through, it's you versus him, and he's ahead of you. And I was under the impression that I'm like, man, if we just had a few more laps, he just keeps poking it in there, something might happen. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, definitely. They asked me at the end of the night, what would you change? And I said, man, you guys ran such a first-class program. I had lots of fun. Everything was awesome. I mean, I had a great time. I couldn't think of one thing to change, but the last race of the night, let's bump the laps up from 12 to, say, 15 or even 20. When you do 12-second lap times and, you have a starting gate like that and you go down a really long straightaway with no front brake, something's bound to happen. And I thought the starting gate with the long straightaway was very exciting for the fans and the riders, and I thought it was awesome. But maybe just a couple more laps to let a guy that has a mistake to maybe make up for it. But in the end, it was a lot of fun, and we ran them down. It just I didn't want to do anything to where we were going to both end up on the ground. I wanted to kind of race him with some respect, and I made some mistakes, and then he made some mistakes that forced me to make a mistake, and it was like all you could do for 12 laps as quick as you can. It just felt like you put everything out on the line for 12 laps, and boom, it was over before you knew it.
When you're racing him like that, and you're right behind him, and is he another racer at that point? Are you aware of the fact that, okay, he's Marc Marquez, he's the MotoGP world champion, we're racing in Spain, I probably shouldn't knock him down, or does that just go out of your mind and he might as well be Brad Baker at that point?
No, he was Brad Baker at that point. I mean, believe me, if I'd have got a really good shot at him to run up underneath of him and move him out of the way, I would have. But, to go in there and kamikaze both of us would definitely not have been the way to go. But, yeah, I mean, if I could have got to him, I would have definitely moved him out of the way for sure. I mean, he's there to race. I'm there to race. I've seen him, bump some people out of the way on the road race MotoGP side of things, going 200 miles an hour, and everybody's seen me make contact before with some other riders, and it would have been a good show. But
Rubbin
it
is
was a
racing.
great show. Yeah, Rubbin's racing.
Yeah.
It was a good show. We showed up and we won the Open class and won everything all the way up to the Super Final, and just came up a little short. One little bobble there in the first corner. It was a stall. When we came in the first corner, we stalled the engine and was able to actually keep it rolling and bump it off really fast, and didn't really lose a whole lot of time, I guess you could say, rather than having to sit there and kick the thing or something. But like I said, there's no excuses. He beat me straight up, and I'm really looking forward to coming back next year.
Now, how big of an advantage is it for him being there on his bike? Did you ship a bike over? Did you just take some suspension parts and put it on a bike that somebody gave you? How did that work?
Yes, exactly. Thanks to Honda Spain, Honda Impala, they gave me a brand new 2015 CRF 450 Honda. And I was welcome to bring what I felt was needed to get the job done. And I basically just brought my Race Tech suspension out and like a hammerhead brake pedal and stuff like that, just to make me feel a little comfortable, and some Weiss Racing triple clamps. Just a couple small little things, but I wasn't really, able, or I probably could have, but the time was more of an essence really to, do any kind of motor or engine work. Not that you needed much there. I mean, it was a very small track, but basically it was a bone stock motorcycle that I put suspension on and some triple clamps and a couple things to make me feel comfortable, and we D&D piped it well, and we went at it. Brad Baker had the same thing too. He was basically doing the same thing I was, with the suspension and the pipe and some wheels and stuff like that. So the biggest difference from our 450s that we race here and the 450 I raced over there was definitely the 17-inch tires. Was basically to look at one bike than the other was the only thing that was really different.
Now, is the different size wheels? Is it just a feel thing?
Yeah, at first it's more or less just getting the confidence in yourself that you have 17-inch wheels. At some places I thought they worked better than our 19-inch wheels. Some places, they worked just as good. There was no excuses for me to where I didn't get used to them good enough or anything like that. First few laps, yeah, it's in your mind, okay, I got 17s, but the motorcycle did the same thing. I thought maybe the back tire definitely works better than the front tire. If I had to get really picky, the front would push a little bit more than the rear, but that could be more on geometry side on things, or just some front fork settings or something like that could maybe change that. But it seemed like everybody tripped the front more than lose the rear.
All right, here's a good question for you. How badly would you like to get him on a rough and tumble half mile or mile on big Harleys?
Marc Marquez? I mean, it would be really cool to see what he would do on one for sure, or a mile or something like that. You know, the little short tracks, a lot of people go out there and ride them. They're, you know, take their motocross bike, just go out there and ride them, and you know, they're kind of like a small little crapshoot. You know, you can only go so fast around there, and you know, people get their 450s out and just play around on them and have fun. So to get more serious as far as saying, hey, is he a really, really, you know, bad to the bone flat tracker? Yeah, you'd have to get him on like a half mile or mile and see where he stack up. But he's a motorcycle racer. He's the best in the world. So I think he'd be able to figure it out with some time for sure.
Now, what's more difficult? Is a half mile more difficult than a mile, or does it work the other way around?
It kind of depends on who you are, and I guess kind of what bike you're on as well. If you're on a slower motorcycle and you're kind of a bigger person, you know, you're probably going to pick the half mile. If you're on a very fast motorcycle and you're a tiny person, people kind of maybe forte the miles a little bit. So it kind of just depends. Anymore, my opinion is kind of what you're on and, you know, what you feel more comfortable with. You know, like a guy like me, if I like the miles. I have more fun on the miles, but my results definitely show a lot more strength in the half miles. And then you look at a guy like Brian Smith, who's, you know, would definitely probably pick a mile over everything. So it just kind of goes on hand to hand on what your personal preference is.
As far as 2015, is your program pretty much the same, identical to what you had this year?
Pretty close. I got a couple pretty good irons in the fire yet, but as far as the mechanic, the Rogers Racing, SDI Insulation, we're all going to be together. The same people is going to be involved. It's just there might be a couple little things that might come out in the works pretty quick here.
And going into it, obviously it came down to you and Brian Smith at the end. Is that something you would anticipate happening again, or I guess Brad Baker will be a little more healthy and we can maybe get him up there as well? But is it? I mean, it seems to be the same, you know, 4 or 5 guys every year.
Yeah, you know, the biggest thing anymore is with the different brands that are getting ran and whatnot is you got to take a look at the schedule and see, you know, what there is for races. Is there a lot of singles races? Is there a lot of mile races? What's what? And right now there seems to be quite a bit of mile races on the schedule and not as many singles races. So I definitely would pick Brian Smith to be a big threat for 2015 Grand National Championship. And, you know, Brad Baker's going to be healthy, and I think, you know, this was his first year with the Factory Harley-Davidson team, so I also choose him to be a big threat. And Kenny Coolbeth as well, he's going to be tough. And, I mean, all the guys are going to be tough right down the line. Jake Johnson, you know, Sammy Halbert, they're all going to be tough. But, you know, if I had to pick a couple, I would say definitely Brian Smith. He's very hungry, and what happened this year with the last couple races there, I know that he's going to be really, you know, coming out twice as hungry. And, you know, the schedule looks pretty good for a lot of mile races, and that's definitely his forte.
Now, a lot of people don't realize, just regular folk out here, you know, we have Josh Hayes and Melissa Paris in here, and she races, and he races, obviously, 4-time AMA Superbike champion.
Yeah, I think we have a similar combination.
Now, this is a little more intense because Jared races against his wife every week. I mean, once the series starts.
Wow, he's a brave man.
I mean, I'm sure this question's been asked to you a million times, but how do you do that? I mean, you're obviously worrying about yourself and then having your wife out there and having to worry about her, or do you just kind of put that out of your mind for 25 laps?
Yeah, you know, I think when we come to the day of the race, it's kind of like all business for both of us, and we know what we're there to do. You know, she's raced motorcycles all her life as well as myself, so, you know, seeing her on a motorcycle is nothing surprising. So, you know, I started dating her when we were racing, and I married her while we were racing, and we're still racing. So it's basically just the way life is for the both of us. So there's nothing really awkward. I mean, yeah, if she falls down or something happens there, it's a little bit of a worry. But I know she's out there doing what she loves, and I'm out there doing what I love. So life goes on.
And I think she cut you some slack, because when I look at it, it's like I think she could beat him every time. She just lets him go.
Well, that's a good wife right there.
That's a keeper.
Yeah, that's a keeper, exactly.
One more thing before we let you go. The rules changed last year, and they got rid of the restrictors. Is that made a big difference? Is it? Yeah, just tell me your opinion on the rules and the parity in the sport, and if things are going in the right direction.
Yeah, I thought last year, it's been a long time coming. There's no doubt that the Kawasaki out there has been a really strong motorcycle and very tough to beat on the miles. And, there was a lot of discrepancy going on with that motorcycle being unrestricted and being water-cooled and overhead cam, and it didn't have a weight rule at one time. And then it had a weight rule, and we got 1 more millimeter restrictor, and it was just like, guys, we're still running a restricted, carbureted, push-rod, air-cooled motor, and you're allowing this thing over here to be unrestricted. So if you put both motorcycles on paper and was just like the pros and the cons, nothing made sense. So they pulled the restrictors not only in the XRs, but they pulled it in everything. And the rule is right now you're not allowed to run a restrictor. So the 1000s, the 1200s, the 800s, there's no restrictors anymore. We have the restrictors are basically our carburetor or throttle body sizes. We have a maximum and a minimum. And we have, the spec 19-inch Dunlop tire that they're basically saying is a restrictor as, you can only put so much power to the ground with that tire. And that's basically what they're trying to make it as a level playing field. And there's definitely some racetracks out there like the Colonial Downs Mega Mile in Virginia. It's like a 1.1 miles or 1.25 miles or something. And you definitely see the displacement take over there, them 1000s and them 1200s. So, I mean, in some sense, it's like, hey, they wanted to just end the crying and the whining and everything by taking all the restrictors out. But you also look at it like, wow, we got some 700s out there racing against some 1250s or 1200s. So you got almost double the displacement and size racing against each other. But like I said, the ultimate restrictor and the ultimate level playing field is that rear tire. So right now we haven't seen the bigger displacement motorcycles really shine yet, but I definitely think there's a good possibility you could see something happen down the road for sure.
Jared, we appreciate you making time for us, my friend, and we're going to definitely have you back on.
Right on, man. I look forward to it.
Thanks again to Jared Mees for joining Bike Week Radio Show. If you've missed any of the interviews, just head to bikeweekradioshow.com. You can check out show podcasts as well as individual interviews you can search for, or just download that brand new Bike Week Radio Show smartphone app, and you can check out interviews, podcasts, and get some extra bonus content through that Bike Week Radio Show smartphone app. But coming up next, we'll play an interview that hasn't hit the air yet. We sat down with Scott Burnworth at Anaheim 1 this year and picked Burnworth's brain and talk about his career and had a fantastic time talking to Burner. But unfortunately, with just 1 hour on a Sunday morning, we didn't get a chance to play that interview because we brought Burnworth back on just a few weeks later to talk about the Carlsbad reunion, which we had a blast at, hanging out at the Booze Brothers Brewery in Vista, who, might I add, we're still trying to bring in studio, and one of these Sundays, I promise, we'll get those Booze Brothers in here. But that Burnworth interview is great. You can't miss it. And also, can't miss one of these helpful riding hints from our good buddies at Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys. Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys have been representing riders for decades. And here's Chuck Coro from Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys to provide you with a helpful riding hint.
If you're unfortunate enough to be involved in a crash, don't throw in the towel just because the police report has you at fault. In California, the officer's conclusion as to fault are rarely admissible at trial in Superior Court. Officers do a great job and are not infallible. They are trying to do several things at once at the accident scene, including protecting the safety of those involved. It's a hectic scene, to say the least, and they don't always get it right. We've prevailed in a host of cases where the report was unfavorable.
This helpful hint has been brought to you by Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys at 1-800-4BIKERS or online at russbrown.com.
Is that your duck?
Yeah. His name is Manny.
I didn't need the name. I just want you to get the...
I heard about your special buy 3 tires, get the fourth for a duck.
Oh, not a duck. A fourth tire for a buck.
This is based on a true story. We here at Toyota Carlsbad would like to clarify that the special is buy 3 tires, get the fourth one for a buck.
A buck?
Not a duck.
A buck.
Right.
Toyota Carlsbad. Details online at ToyotaCarlsbad.com or stop in and visit Toyota Carlsbad's new parts and service center west of I-5 on Avenida Encinas, Carlsbad. Toyotas only. No animals have been harmed in making this commercial.
Here's an idea. Bear with me. You could save quite a bit of money just by switching your motorcycle insurance to Geico. Piles of it, in fact. But there may not be a lot of room on your bike for all that extra cash. So I had somewhat of an idea. You could get one of those nifty little sidecars, pile it up with all that money you just saved, and merrily drive on your way. It's just a thought. Just off the top of my head.
Call Geico today for a free motorcycle rate quote. Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance.
Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys are the real deal. Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys. Their entire practice is dedicated to representing motorcyclists. As riders themselves, they understand why you ride, the issues you face, and the motorcycle culture. For over 30 years, Russ Brown and his partner Chuck Coro have been helping injured motorcyclists and their families get the care and compensation they deserve. Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys also created BAM. BAM! A nationwide buddy system of over 2 million riders helping riders in the event of a roadside emergency. BAM offers free legal advice, and thanks to Russ Brown, they have staff on hand to take your call 24/7, 365 days a year.
Imagine a real person answering the phone 24/7.
Just call 1-800-4BIKERS for more information and to get your BAM card today. If you go down, call Russ Brown, 1-800-4BIKERS, and online at russbrown.com.
Hi, James here from Toyota of Escondido. Guys, if you're hearing this commercial, that means you are into powerful machines that go fast and are durable. Toyota of Escondido has the biggest selection in San Diego of Toyota Tacomas and Toyota Tundras. Whether for work or play, we can customize the truck of your choice into the truck of your dreams. Don't waste time anywhere else. Stop by or give us a call. Toyota of Escondido. Freeway Close, where Highway 78 meets Broadway, just east of the 15.
You're listening to Bike Week Radio Show with Bobby Wooldridge, Broc Glover, and Paul Carruthers on San Diego's sports leader, the mighty 1090.
Welcome back to Bike Week Radio Show on San Diego sports leader, the mighty 1090. And happy Easter to all those out there celebrating, and please stay safe on the roads. I know a lot of people be traveling around the SoCal area. But today we're playing some of our highlights from some of our favorite guests from Bike Week Radio Show in the first quarter of this year. And some didn't even make the air because we just had so much content, so much great guests. But with just 1 hour on a Sunday, there's not room for everybody. And this one is an exclusive interview with Scott Burnworth, who we taped with him up at Anaheim 1 in the very beginning of this year. And we are hanging out with Burner just a few weeks ago, hanging out at the Booze Brothers Brewery for the Carlsbad reunion. But this interview, we got to talk about Burner's career and just a great guy, fun guy, and catch up what he's doing nowadays. So, Scott Burnworth, take it away.
So, Burner, how many times did you compete here in Anaheim Stadium?
I think probably 3 times.
Yeah? I remember one in particular.
One was really famous in 86.
Yeah, the one.
I remember that one.
I remember that one, too. I was sitting in the stand.
That's the only one that anyone's ever remembered me at, the most famous race here at
It was a pretty
Anaheim.
dramatic
I ended up with my face in the dirt.
Yeah, and, the thing is, in the pits earlier that day, because we were doing work for then Hallman Racing, which is known as Thor today, and you had the new black market gear on. I think you were the first guy to compete in it.
Yeah.
And you showed me did Troy paint that helmet? He said, look, check out my helmet. He made it a point. And I want to say, maybe I just invented this, but I want to say you better scratch that thing. Right?
And
You're
I
supposed
did.
to scratch a freshly painted helmet. But
he scratched it,
all
right.
Without taking the helmet off, he scratched it.
Right.
With some help, though.
I had a picture of that actual crash, and my face was halfway, in the dirt.
Oh.
And
that was pretty harsh.
I'm sure you're tired of talking about that.
Yeah.
Right? But we're going to go ahead and do it anyway
because
that's how we are.
We don't get tired of anything.
We don't get tired of hearing bad
This
stories.
This is like WW Groundhog Day.
So why don't you, for the people out there that maybe don't know, relive that for us.
Okay.
1986.
Yeah, 1986, Anaheim Supercross.
Main event.
I was doing real good that night. I won my heat race. I was feeling real good, and main event comes up. I think someone else actually got the whole shot, but right around the first corner, I passed them, and we were all kind of coming into that next corner, and I was going to square it off because there was a quad, I think it was, or it was a quad or a triple, and Rick just came on the inside, just
Rick Johnson.
So, RJ, yeah,
used you as a
going a little too fast to make the corner, and he kind of just hit my front wheel, and I, took a nose plant in the dirt.
All of a sudden, he was studying the geology of.
And I was a little bit
Anaheim
pissed
Stadium.
at the time, and I just kind of cruised around. I was about a lap down when I got up, and eventually those guys came around, and I'm like, hey, I might just like slow down a little bit. You know, nothing malicious or anything.
Right.
So I did it a little bit, but I mean, if you look at the tape, I mean, David was riding really good and everything, and I don't know, it would have been tight for both of them, but who knows what would have happened.
So
I just helped about.
Did you hear about that later from Rick? I mean, was he pissed?
I remember on the interview, he was kind of ticked off, I think, a little bit. And,
he was. I was holding the mic while they were shooting it.
But yeah, it's all good. We're all good with it now. You know, it's a long time past, and it's kind of laugh about it now.
Well, you could also say that you weren't really thinking clearly because of the fact that he took you out so bad that you slammed your head on the ground,
Exactly.
and then after that you kind of don't really remember what you did.
They don't have the concussion protocol now. You know, I just got up and went. You know, with the full face.
Take your concussion like a man, I think is what they used to tell you in the medical trailer.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
Burner,
go ahead, Scott.
Go ahead.
No,
Burner.
You go.
I mean, I've had the pleasure of being at some events that you've raced in the last few years because you're involved with a group of active racers, and you're still. I mean, you're fast as hell, man. I mean,
well,
I'm going to say faster than ever.
Well,
Maybe
you found your niche with that stuff, though, right?
God, I'll say.
Yeah, you know, after I quit racing, I didn't race probably actually ride for another 8 years or something. I took like 8 years off, and then someone said, you know, they had this. There was a local race at, I think it was Carlsbad, vintage race, and he had a CR 250. He's all come out and try it, you know. So I tried this guy's bike, and it was a lot of fun, you know. It's like low pressure, no one slamming in you.
Just run around, make some laps.
Yeah, you know, no gnarly jumps, no doubles or anything like that. So, you know, it kind of started then. I bought I think it was a 76 CR 250, and I raced that for a while, fixed it up, and then eventually, it wasn't the greatest, you know.
But you were having fun.
Machine. Yeah, I have a good time.
So little by little, you got more and more involved and stayed with it.
Yeah, it's just a great group of people. It's, you know, real mellow crowd, and, you know, just fun to go out there on all these different old bikes and see how fast you can go on these old bikes and see if you can keep them together.
But you have an amazing following. I mean, how big was that East-West event that you had? Was that last year or earlier? Yeah, I guess it was last year. Now it's 2015. But you had a big event where you invited all these guys.
Yeah,
from Arizona.
it was.
I mean, how many hundreds of guys showed up for that?
Well, that was at a race that I put on. It's the SoCal Vintage Classic. That was up at Glen Helen, and we had a Arizona versus California team race. And so they had a group. They brought their group over there, and we had our group from California, and you kind of go head-to-head. And we have all these different – it was really complicated on the rules because, you know, you can't just go guy to guy because we had so many more guys out here compared to them. So I think it was actually by 1 point we kind of I think we tied. We kind of said, okay, we tie because there was a lot of different
home field
stuff
advantage. And you were at Brona Oaks.
No, the last race was at Glen Helen.
But when you were at Brona Oaks, I mean, is that the first place you ever raced motocross at? I know you raced a lot there throughout your life.
Actually, I think at Four Corners was the
Four Corners. Okay.
And then eventually Verona opened in I think 73, and that's when it was kind of a mini thing, and that's when we kind of went over.
So who are some of the names? Who are some of the guys that come out and race with you regularly that our audience might have heard of?
Now,
yeah.
Bill Silverthorne, Billy Urban. A lot of the guys don't ride. You know, the big name guys, they don't want to ride anymore.
Ronnie Lachine.
Broc. You know, Broc came out. And then every race they have a legend that they feature. So we get a different guy. We had Broc. We had Marty Smith. We had Billy Urban.
And not that Broc would let on, but these guys will back me up. He was pretty bumped about being that legend.
Yeah, we made a special jersey for him, replica jersey that he had, and
I saw him wearing it in the pits today.
Yeah, he doesn't take it off.
He's making a comeback.
Yeah. When you see him again, don't stare at the jersey, but he wears it every day.
No, it's just a good atmosphere, and a lot of people come out to see those guys, and it's just a lot of fun.
So now I know back after the racing career, you went to work Well, when I started to work with you again was when you were at Jet Pilot, which was a watercraft wetsuit apparel company, and you were doing their art stuff at the time.
Yeah.
Now, is that something that you still do? Not with them, obviously, but with somebody else?
Yeah,
is that still your main job?
I'm still doing the same thing. I work for myself. I work out of my home, and I'm still doing the same exact stuff. And it's been good. I mean, I get to work at home, and I have to do the 9 to 5 thing.
And he's a great designer. I mean, I can, because I'm in the trade too.
Actually,
Burners are really capable, very artistic, very a great designer.
A funny story was when we started Jet Pilot, and it was right about when we started using computers
like
graphics.
Like the day after.
And we were redoing the Jet Pilot logo, and we went to Cox.
Right, came to my office
they had
in
all
Mission
these
Valley.
Computers and stuff, and we're like,
hey, what if we did this?
Yeah.
Look at all these typefaces. What if we did this? Let's try that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And those guys, I haven't seen or heard of them. They went to Australia, right?
Well, no, Jet Pilot is still here also in the U.S., but it's also in I think it's still going in Japan and Australia too.
You still get checks for the logo or not?
No.
That was go right to Scott. Because he had the computer. He had Quicken, too.
Yeah. Well, I also had a way to plant the kernels in the file.
Was that a Corel draw?
Yeah, right.
Scott, we appreciate you coming by.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you inviting me on.
No problem.
Thanks, Burner.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks again to Scott Burnworth. Always a great guest. Always fun to have him on. And I know he's also an avid Bike Week radio show listener. And so, Scott, thank you for your support and helping out the show. Up next, no need to take a break. Let's just keep the thing rolling. At Anaheim, we also sat down with the legendary Danny Laporte. And honestly, we went for about 30, 40 minutes in this interview. Obviously, we don't have enough time to play the entire thing. However, Danny always bringing his A game. Here's some of our interview with Danny Laporte.
So how many years after that were you a full-on Dakar guy?
I not until the first rally, which was 91. 91 was the first year I got to ride a rally. It took 3 or 4 years. It's really hard because at that time they had, you think about it, they had all Chesterfield, Lucky, Marlboro, Rothmans. BMW in the motorcycle had a full team, and so there was a lot of money, and so all these teams were very tight. And to try to a motocross racer trying to get on, they'll laugh at you. They go,
an inexperienced motocrosser from America. So were you running under a French or American passport?
I was American at the time.
Yeah.
But so that leads to the next point is I did know one guy that had a team, is Jean-Claude Olivier, who recently passed away.
Yeah, he was the Yamaha.
Yeah, he was president of Yamaha
Sonoda
France.
Yamaha.
And I known him from motocross. And so I gave Jean-Claude a call, and I said, I'd really like to give it a try. If there's ever an opening, could I have a chance at it? And he goes, Denny, this sport. He goes,
That's how we talked.
Yeah, this is Jean-Claude. It's different than motocross. I really don't want to risk. And this is true story. We already brought that motocross racer Andre Malherbe, and he crashed and got paralyzed in Tunisia. He goes, the motocrossers are just too fast, too aggressive. They're going to get hurt. I don't want to see that. And I didn't. Okay, so he goes, go get some Baja experience. So I got hooked up with the Kawasaki, with Mark, Larry Rosser, Paul Krause, through Mark Johnson. And we won everything for like 3 years, the 500. And every time I won an event, I call Jean-Claude. We won the 500.
Raced it just like he's riding a motocross bike.
The 1,000.
I'd say Danny late in the race. Everybody else is like, oh, God, where's the finish line? Danny's like, still banging berms.
So every time we won an event, I call Jean-Claude. I did this. Okay, good. You need another year. Another year went by. There's no openings. Finally, the third year, we won 3 500s and 3,000s. Larry and I, Paul, and Ted Honeycutt was one of the riders a few of the times, and even Marty Smith was a rider with us. But so I kept calling. Finally, an opportunity opened, and with Yamaha, and he says, "Okay, come on over." And sure enough, long story short, the very first rally, which was a big rally, it's called the Pharaohs Rally in Egypt. It was 11 days long, and it was probably 4,000 miles. A decent-sized rally still. All sand and dunes and amazing.
On an 850, what were you
I
riding?
rode that 850 Yamaha.
The very
day of the first, I missed the checkpoint. I missed the whole.
Your first opportunity to
I cut
dazzle.
the whole desert off. I won the stage by a mile. I won. I came in. I'm first. No one's around. You just missed about 40 miles of the course. I go, well,
Can I
go do it now?
Yeah. So anyway, they have checkpoints. So anyway, that was it. I was pretty much like penalized 9 hours. So every day,
good way to start a rally.
But it was great. No, in rallies, if you start back, it's a big advantage. So
you're passing guys
you can
like
pass.
crazy.
You never have to navigate. You just see tracks and dust. You just go, go, go. So a lot of people say, "Oh, he won today. Well, it's easy to win when you're starting in 20th.
Right.
It's the track's already laid
Yeah,
out. You
like
see a
paved,
big groove. There's berms
signals.
in every turn. You just pin it. You don't pay attention to that paper that they give you that you roll up in the road book. You just out
throw
the
that
window.
out. Yeah.
Throw that out the window.
It's like toilet paper on your
and
foot.
follow
just hanging out
dust.
behind the
That was
bike.
my motto. So anyway. So yeah, I won. I think I won like 6 or 7 of the. So people got to know me just because I won, but I won by default.
You know what? There's a
default,
lesson
right?
to be learned there, right?
Yeah.
You suck from the beginning. It's like you had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
He wasn't making up 9 hours.
No.
No, I know. You have nothing to lose.
You're winning the hearts and minds of people who appreciated that.
That's what I thought, So
Except from
I
there,
got that
you were
right
accepted.
away. And you get there, you won the stage.
Yeah,
It's like
it's
they
a big
pump it
deal.
up. I'm all, I did.
You're still 8 hours and 50 minutes behind, but you won this stage.
Monsieur Laporte, you won the first American to ever win the stage. I did. Prove it.
The French surname had to work for you in some instances.
Yeah, no, it did actually.
Laporte's one of us.
So, this is true. I don't know if I you know the story, but in 91 rally, the first rally opportunity I got, that was actually just after the Pharaohs rally. We bombed Omar Kadhalfi, and the race started in Libya.
Well, you needed
and I
it.
just signed a contract to race.
Yeah, that
Paris
would get a
to
little
Dakar.
sketchy.
I'm all
one American
how
sticking
we-
out like a red herring.
We had just bombed him that year, or just after I think I had signed the anyway. So how am I going to write? I got this contract. I got all this stuff going on, and so this is a true story.
I hate it when the government does that and screws up your deal.
I can't even. This is amazing. But anyway, somehow I got a temporary passport issued.
French.
Yeah, I changed
Temporary
it to
is a French word.
I'm not going to say exactly how I got it, but I got it, and I got a flag. My name was Laporte, so they figured I was French anyway. But anyway, when we went to Tripoli, where the start of the race was, the team's all, just stay in the truck. Don't come out for the presentation and don't talk.
Yeah, when Mr. Gaddafi comes out
your
on his
French wasn't so good.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, it was kind of... I don't know if we'd actually bombed him yet or not, but
we're fixing to.
We might have been still friends with him.
Oh my! Well, would it take a dangerous event to
still.
make it even more dangerous? I like it. This
Yeah.
is not enough adrenaline for me. Let's
Yeah,
add a pinch more.
They weren't issuing passports, so and the thing is, though, true. You're out, and they didn't like obviously Americans at that time for sure, because was a weird time, and
Especially
so
those
if
who
you're
cut
if you're riding around in North Africa, you'll see some military trucks, and you don't know if they have to do with the race or there's some.
They're stopping you.
Roadblock. They could be not even aware of the race going on. How can they control North Africa? It's incredible. So there's no borders. There's
Right.
no.
It's just open.
You can go 1,000 miles in one direction and never see a human. So North Africa is 5,000 miles across or something. So, it's all desert. And one year actually, I'd come up to these guys and I had the little French flag on the side of the bike, so it kind of helps, because they look at everything and they just kind of wave you on. So it happened a few times, and these guys, they have white things wrapped around their heads with rocket launchers. So usually turbans, rocket launchers, but they jump out. I got a photo of myself with one time with the guy.
What was that button for?
Exactly.
It's a big old, just a stream going off.
No, I think it was some kind of Russian machine gun.
So, Danny, Supercross experience for you? How many Supercrosses have you participated in?
Before I left to Europe, I raced 6 years in America, but I only raced 5 seasons because I was hurt one of the seasons. I crashed and dislocated my wrist when I first started riding with Honda at the beginning of the season. Actually, then I finally got going at the end of the year, but I missed the entire Supercross season. So I raced 5 seasons a year, and so I raced, and then it was about 12 to 14 events a year. So Not really a lot, actually.
Did you enjoy them?
Not really.
Yeah, wasn't your deal?
No, I didn't. It was really funny at that time. Because it was so different of a period of time. You imagine, because when I'd come to the race and you walk into the stadium and you think, this is my way of thinking. I'd look, wow, the stadium's full. Look at this, and I think like the purse was like $1,500, and I just couldn't
doing the math. Like,
I
how does
couldn't
this
do the
work?
math, and what the bonus was paying from the factories and what all your bonuses combined. You just go, this isn't right, and they're asking us to do this. What jump 40-foot double, whatever. And then they were building them like. There were no down, round, face, shovels. No, those words didn't exist. They were like jumps that if you didn't make it, you'd hit a wall.
Right.
You're up 30 feet, in the air, and you're looking at a wall. Peak. And there's no downside to it. You're just landed it perfect or you'd flat land it. It was also risky in a different way.
Quite challenging.
Yeah, so at that time I wanted to race motocross. That's what my dream was.
Danny, we appreciate you.
All right, thanks a lot, Bob.
Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, Danny.
Thanks again to Danny Laporte, always an interesting character to bring on the show. And that was just a portion of the interview that Danny sat down and gave us. And if you want to hear the entire thing, just head to bikeweekradioshow.com. You can check out the podcast as well as any other previous shows you might have missed. And coming up next, we are out at Toyota Carlsbad, hanging out as we are preparing for Supercross to come to Petco Park for the very first time, which we were also at. But we are hanging out at Toyota Carlsbad, and we were able to snag a killer interview with Dakar rider Ned Sueese. You'll hear that coming up next, right here on Bike Week Radio Show, San Diego sports leader, the Mighty 1090.
Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys are the real deal. Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys. Their entire practice is dedicated to representing motorcyclists. As riders themselves, they understand why you ride, the issues you face, and the motorcycle culture. For over 30 years, Russ Brown and his partner Chuck Coro have been helping injured motorcyclists and their families get the care and compensation they deserve. Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys also created BAM. BAM! A nationwide buddy system of over 2 million riders helping riders in the event of a roadside emergency. BAM offers free legal advice, and thanks to Russ Brown, they have staff on hand to take your call 24/7, 365 days a year.
Imagine a real person answering the phone 24/7.
Just call 1-800-4BIKERS for more information and to get your BAM card today. If you go down, call Russ Brown. 1-800-4BIKERS and online at russbrown.com.
Is that your duck?
Oh, yeah. His name is Manny.
I didn't need the name. I just want you to get the...
I heard about your special buy 3 tires, get the fourth for a duck.
Oh, not a duck. A fourth tire for a buck.
This is based on a true story. We here at Toyota Carlsbad would like to clarify that the special is buy 3 tires, get the fourth one for a buck.
A buck?
Not a duck.
A buck.
Right.
Toyota Carlsbad. Details online at ToyotaCarlsbad.com or stop in and visit Toyota Carlsbad's new parts and service center west of I-5 on Avenida Encinas, Carlsbad. Toyotas only. No animals have been harmed in making this commercial.
Here's an idea. Bear with me. You could save quite a bit of money just by switching your motorcycle insurance to Geico. Piles of it, in fact. But there may not be a lot of room on your bike for all that extra cash. So I had somewhat of an idea. You could get one of those nifty little sidecars, pile it up with all that money you just saved, and merrily drive on your way. It's just a thought. Just off the top of my head.
Call Geico today for a free motorcycle rate quote. Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance.
This is Bike Week Radio Show with Bobby Wooldridge, Broc Glover, and Paul Carruthers on San Diego's sports leader, the Mighty 1090.
Welcome back to Bike Week Radio Show, San Diego sports leader, the Mighty 1090. And happy Easter to all those out there celebrating. And today we're playing some of the highlights from the first quarter of the year. And obviously one of the highlights of the first few months of 2015 was Supercross coming to Petco Park for the first time. And as we are preparing that week, we are also up at Toyota Carlsbad, and it was there where we sat down with Dakar rider Ned Sueese. Ned, take it away.
Ned's here. I guess, Ned, you're in California for like 2 hours.
It's actually 2 nights.
2 nights. Wow. Yeah. And you are stopping by here on your way to the tip of Baja.
That's correct. Yeah.
And why are you going down there?
Well, I rode down in November, December on my KTM 950, and
Just for fun.
Just for fun.
Non-competitive.
Non-competitive. Just
because I should tell our listeners your competitive background in case they didn't know. You are an experienced rallyist. Give us a snapshot of that.
Yeah. So I guess I started racing enduros back in the day when they were timekeeping, and I really enjoyed
when they used to timekeep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the kind of intellectual side of that. And so as enduros have turned into more and more just a, pin it to win it kind of an affair, I got introduced and intrigued by navigation rallies. So in a navigation rally, you have to follow, there's no marked course, you have to follow a paper scroll full of directions. So a road book. At mile 1, turn left, at mile 2, turn right, that kind of thing. And so as I started doing that, I found it just so enjoyable. It is totally involving. When you're racing a road book, you have to both focus on riding, of course, because if you don't, it hurts. Yes. But you also have to focus on the road book because if you don't, you're lost.
Which also hurts.
Yeah. And so as I started to follow that more, my first rally was one in Morocco in North Africa.
Yep.
I did
was that Atlas Rally by chance?
No, it was a race called the Amitié, the Friendship Rally. It's a French event.
That's French.
Yeah. You need a croissant.
À tout à l'heure.
And so that race is founded by the same people that started the Dakar way back in the day.
Yes.
And there was kind of a division as
like TSO.
The TSO.
Terry Sabine organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct.
How's that, Bobby?
Very good.
We're talking trivia here.
Yeah. And so I went and did that race with some Portuguese friends and just fell in love, had such a good time. And so
and what'd you ride?
I borrowed a KTM 640. And the one that I borrowed was from a Portuguese friend. It had, I think, 100,000 kilometers on it.
So it's fresh.
It was amazingly bad. And I had such a good time. So I did that. I fell in love with it. And so in 2012, I raced the Dakar Rally, which had been a lifelong dream.
Right.
And I finished it that year. I was the only American to finish. So that was pretty
cheering
cool.
You on.
I appreciate it. And then in 2013, I raced an event called the Tuareg Rally in Tunisia.
Yes.
That was Dakar for me was a finishing effort. You know, it's such a big race and it's so expensive and it's such a big deal that I felt like I really want to get to the end of this thing more than I want to, have beat anyone. If I'm dead last, I'm happy.
You finished.
It went well. And so when I went to the Tuareg, I sort of turned that around a little bit and said, okay, I want to compete. I actually want to see what I can do. And it went better than expected. I wound up second overall at the race, which was really fun. Last year, I didn't race in 2014, which sounds odd to say. I meant to, and it just never
didn't quite happen. I mean, a lot of things have to take place in order to
it's not trivial.
Get you into something that major.
It's not trivial. It's not only a budget, but it's all the time and training and transport, building a bike, transporting a bike to wherever it is because it's not local.
Sure.
And going from there. So
awesome. So back to today.
Mm-hmm.
Ned Sueese, you're going to return to Cabo or the tip of Baja, La Paz, wherever it is.
I'm going to return to Cabo.
You buried your motorcycle, your 950 KTM.
Well, I broke it.
Creosote. Oh, you broke it. Well, that's probably that probably kind of solves itself. The bike's staying here. You're going home.
That's right. Yeah, I got dirty gas, and I was trying to drain the carburetors in the middle of the night, and it's a real pain on a 950.
Yes.
And I managed to drop a screw, couldn't find it. It didn't go in the motor, but I just couldn't find it. It went away. I threaded a longer screw, and I wound up breaking the carb bowl. And it was one of those like, well, we're done. I'm buying a plane ticket. So I'm going back with new carburetors, and I'll ride it home. So
that's awesome. So you'll go back home, and your next major adventure that you contacted us about over the weekend, tell us about that.
Yeah, so there's a World Championship of Rally. The FIM runs a World Championship, and they run a few events around the world. I think this year there's 6 or 7. And one of those events is a rally race in Sardinia. And so that's an island off the coast of Italy.
Yep.
This event really attracted me because a few reasons. First is it's the only one that doesn't include cars and quads and so on.
So it's just bikes.
It's bikes only. and it's really technical. It's really tight, gnarly, technical. It's almost like a navigation enduro.
Yeah.
So Coma's usually there. The
Sure.
Honda team is there.
Yeah,
all
the slackers.
The slackers, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm going to show them what's up, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I have faith in you, Ned.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's set the bar high.
Yeah.
So all those guys will be riding enduro bikes. They won't be riding rally bikes in this race. And so they'll ride an enduro bike, a little bigger gas tank, and just a road book on the handlebars, but not a full.
So typical stage, what kind of distance you run in?
I think they vary between 200 and 300 kilometers, something like that.
That's a real stage.
It's a real stage, but it's very slow and technical relative to most rally.
Right.
And so that seems like it'll be a lot of fun.
It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And who's back in with you from a sponsorship?
Yeah, so we worked with a wine company called If You CK Wine.
Oh, we know them.
We know all about If You CK. We worked with them in a way.
I've been trying to get sponsored by them.
Well, I mean, thanks to Ned. They just kept sending case after case after case.
So they're a really great company, and I think, what's going to be fun about this race is the best in the world to be there. And so we're going to compete with the best in the world. And, I already know I'm not going to win.
Sure.
But it's about the challenge. And I think that they really like what we're doing because they're about the challenge. They're a small company, and they're excited about making wine that's, a little bit out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
And so
starting with the name.
Starting with a name. And so they call it No Holds Barred wine. The wine is made just across the sea from Sardinia on the mainland of Italy.
Nice.
And so...
have you been to Sardinia before?
I haven't.
Nor have I, but I know guys like Franco Cherubis.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had a home there for probably 30 years, and he's always talking about, Sardinia. And it's one of those places on the Bike Week Radio Show bucket list. At some point we will make it over there. Maybe it'll inspire us to do a live remote there.
I think you should do a broadcast from there. Why not, right?
International. I can even bring in some Italian radio personalities to help with the language barrier.
Put it on Glover's tab.
And what a tab.
Yeah.
Cool. So you've got, where are you in the process of having things, making arrangements, getting equipment, getting support for the Sardinia Rally?
About 3 days in.
3 days in. So you're ready to go
just
tomorrow.
Almost done. Yeah. No, so we're we've got to figure out what we're going to race and build bikes. I don't think that'll be too hard. I think we'll wind up racing KTM 450s. And then we got to figure out shipping, and we've got to figure out how we're going to accommodate the team over there and so on.
Any pre-running?
There's not.
No.
But unless you mean at the vineyard, because I do intend to do some pre-running at the winery.
As you should. You got to get acclimated.
That's right.
I think that's called pre-gaming.
Oh.
Pre-gaming, yeah.
Similar but different.
I like the term, though. Yeah. Good work, Bobby.
So we'll do some pre-gaming over there. But I think it's going to be kind of a funny deal because we need to figure out how to get the bikes there. And I'm racing with somebody, Scott Bright. He's been on
sure.
the ISDEs 4 times representing the U.S., so he's a really accomplished rider and a good friend of mine. And he's racing the Cortez Rally here in Mexico. That's in late April. So we have to start sending our bikes sometime after that rally finishes, and we need him to be there June 1st. So I think it's going to get interesting.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's always interesting.
Yeah.
If you set your compass setting and your road book to go do something, there's a high level of interest. And the guys from Climb probably going to help you out there?
Yeah, Climb will be involved.
Climb Clothing out of Rigby, Idaho. Fantastic brand. That's what I wear.
Yeah. Well, me too. And not for any reason other than I think it's the best. I think they've really done a really good job with it.
It's a premium brand. What other things might our listeners want to know about Ned Sueese?
Well, they would want to know that Double Take Mirror is also supporting this venture.
Double Take. Don't get me started on Double Take. My favorite mirrors. I'm your biggest evangelist.
Perfect.
Nick.
Thank you.
Ned owns Double Take mirror, and it's the best thing for an adventure rider, for guys that do dual sport, off-road. And I'm sure you have a lot of guys that are just full-blown road guys. It's a great way to look at the action behind you because you can adjust it. You can turn them down, like my 990. As soon as I go off-road, I poke those mirrors in. I don't have to remove them. Doesn't require any wrenches.
Nope.
It's got a big old nice knob on there, like a RAM mount.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are familiar with RAM mounts for GPSs and electronics. Yep. And your creation, your invention?
Yeah, I broke one of everything, and so I felt like I got to make something better. Exactly, more than one of quite a few. And so came up with that idea. I like to call it great hindsight. So
get it, Bobby? Rear view mirror, hindsight. Yeah, we'll probably put some sound effects in there.
Well, I got a question for you. We talked to Jimmy Lewis at Anaheim 1.
Yes, we did.
And he was saying when he
knows Jimmy Lewis.
When he went over for Dakar, he got violently ill because he just wasn't used to the culture and the food and the water and everything. Did you have any experiences like that, having to acclimate yourself to the culture?
I have. I think this rally that's coming up is held at a 4-star resort in Italy. So I'm optimistic that I'm going to survive
all the wine drinking.
Yep.
But no, I think Tunisia was actually a pretty tough go that way. I was there in 2013. The Arab Spring, of course, was 2012, 2013.
Right. Perfect time to travel in that part of the world.
It was really kind of exciting. And Tunisia has an interesting habit of adding tuna to everything.
Yeah.
And so you would order something that you would think, I'm going to have a salad, and it would be full of tuna fish.
Yeah.
And you'd think,
breakfast. Oh, a tuna omelet. Oh, we're having Belgian waffles.
With tuna.
Tuna. Or tono, as Italians call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Italy once, and they said, everybody is excited. We went to a restaurant, and they bring out this huge pizza, and it was like you had the wettest tuna for a sandwich, and it was all over the pizza, and I'm going, is this like, I know you guys are having fun with me because I'm the only American here. Is this sincere?
Yeah.
It was. Tuna.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Ned, man, thanks for stopping by here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And you and I know, will be in contact as you prepare for Sardinia.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're always happy to help you out. And, we like the rally thing. We like guys who are doing what we all wish we could do.
I think about rally that it's like real riding for most of us, where it's about an adventure, it's about an experience more than it's just only riding the bike, And for me, that's what's so fun about it, is you go somewhere exotic and you meet interesting people and you see places that you'd never see any other way, and you eat pizza covered in tuna, and all the stuff that's kind of high and lows.
Yeah.
It brings them all out.
Well, Ned, man, always a pleasure. Love having you come by. Thanks, pal.
All right.
Thanks again to Ned Sueese for joining us. Honestly, just an incredibly genuine, nice guy, and always wish him the best. So thanks again, Ned. And thanks again to you, the listeners of Bike Week Radio Show. We don't say it enough, but my goodness, we really appreciate the support that you guys have shown us. And when we come back next week, special surprise, Kyle Petty will be joining Bike Week Radio Show. He's got a charity ride once again and is leaving from Central California, going all the way across country. And so we'll talk to Kyle Petty once again. That'll be next Sunday. So set your dials. Keep it right here on the Mighty 1090. We'll talk to you next Sunday. Have a great Easter, and we'll see you back here on San Diego Sports Leader, the Mighty 1090.
You've been listening to Bike Week Radio Show.
Powered by Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance.
Join us next week for more Bike Week Radio Show on San Diego's sports leader, the Mighty 1090.